Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back. Today, we are ranking every single Gobblegum in Black Ops 6. Now, you might think that this is a pretty straightforward ranking, right? You look at the rarities and the colors, and you're like, oh, well, obviously, the rare Gobblegums are just simply going to be better than the more common ones, but that's just not really true. In fact, I think some of the rarity categorization of these are just completely random, and ones that I think are ultra rare should maybe be like just normal blue Gobblegums or rare, and vice versa. So, I think this is going to be a pretty interesting list today, and you might learn some things about Gobblegum that you probably didn't know before. Also, real quick, subscribe for a free perkaholic. This definitely works. You click that subscribe button right now, you load up your account, go to your Gobblegum, you'll see a free perkaholic right there. No scam at all. In fact, this post was fact-checked by true American patriots. Anyways, enough clowning, lads. Let's get into this, and coming in at our worst Gobblegum in the game is probably one that you're not expecting. This is an orange gum, and this is going to be wall-to-wall clearance. This Gobblegum is absolutely trash. Now, this first appeared in Black Ops 4, and it was moderately useful in a couple of really key situations. In Alpha Omega, for example, this was a good elixir to use to get the Galva Knuckles off the wall because they're pretty expensive. You need them for an Easter egg step. However, in Black Ops 6, the only thing it does is reduce the cost of wall buys to 10 points. And you might not think that that's so bad, but if it reduced all wall buys or anything that you would take off the wall down to 10, this could be really good. However, this does not affect armor. If this reduced the cost of armor, this would be an amazing Gobblegum, but it doesn't actually affect this at all, so it's kind of pointless. I mean, at most, you're gonna be saving like 5,000 points if you go to like round 25 or 30 and then the wall buys start becoming legendary. Then maybe, I guess it's like kind of worth it, but you probably have an additional 5k to spare by the time you get to rounds 25 and 30. This Gobblegum just makes no sense to me, has no place in the game, and I found zero use cases so far. I think this could be eviscerated, and you know, our lives would probably be better for it. All right, moving on, and coming up next is a brand new Gobblegum first featured in Black Ops 6. This is Exit Strategy. So the thing is, this Gobblegum immediately initiates an exfil, which doesn't sound like terrible, but this Gobblegum has no practical in-game use. Sure, you can activate an exfil in the times in between that it's available, but what's really the point of this? I don't know, like if you just want to exfil and keep your XP without having to push like maybe another 3 or 4 rounds, it's just not a very good thing, because either you can just end the game, like exfilling doesn't really do anything super important for you, especially after you've played quite a lot already. I mean, unless you're farming whimsical Gobblegums, it's like there's virtually no difference between ending your game and exfilling if you've already like gotten XP or your prestige master or something. You don't really need to worry about exfilling because it doesn't do a whole lot for you other than getting XP. So I guess if you want to rank up, sure, but like, I don't know, you can just push into rounds 30, 35 and exfil anyways. It just doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me. Anyways, coming up next is going to be maybe a controversial one, but I'm going to say Anywhere But Here. Now, this was a legendary Gobblegum in Black Ops 3, and I don't mean legendary as in was like an actual mega Gobblegum. I mean that it was really good. Now, technically, this was a classic Gobblegum in BO3, meaning you had infinite of this. However, that doesn't mean it's not good. In that game, you didn't really have a whole lot of options, like if you got trapped or something, this was probably one of the best options to get out of a bad situation. However, in Black Ops 6, the gameplay's a little different, right? You have like wonder weapons, you have your specialist, a lot of options to get out of bad scenarios that Anywhere But Here just doesn't feel as important because positioning is not as important as it used to be. Sometimes you can get a really lucky teleport during a speed run or something like that, but outside of those specific situations, Anywhere But Here just doesn't really have a big impact on the meta of BO6 specifically, and I haven't really found much use for this. Moving on though, coming up next is the Cashback Gobblegum. Again, also pretty good in Black Ops 3 and even BO4, kind of sucks in this game because for the simple reason that it's very easy to come by ammo in this game, either from ammo boxes or the free drops that you can shoot somewhere in the map. Ammo is not really a rare resource in BO6, meaning this isn't super valuable. Occasionally, this can be exactly what you need, but there's so many different ways to go about restoring ammo that I don't think this one is incredibly important. Coming up next is an orange rarity Gobblegum. This is Immolation Liquidation, and again, I think this is pretty low tier for the simple fact that I don't think the mystery box is honestly all that important or good in BO6. I think you want to be spawning in with your loadout weapon, either that or you want to be going after a very specific wall buy. I also don't think BO6 really rewards having multiple weapons in your playstyle, right? You want to have one really good gun and potentially a wonder weapon, but that's about it. Nobody really runs around with a primary and a secondary that are equally upgraded, equally pack-a-punched. You just don't really play the game like that, and that's not how the systems in BO6 are built. Basically, that's all to say that the mystery box is somewhat pointless. I guess it's nice because the mystery box is the biggest point trap in the game, and, you know, this can essentially let you get it for free for a little bit, which is nice, but still, I don't think it's a very powerful gum. It's fine. All right, coming up next is a purple rarity Gobblegum, and again, might surprise you and is sort of weird because it sounds really good on paper. This is the Gobblegum Free Fire. So you really have to read the fine print with this one because it says you get infinite ammo for a whole minute. Like, infinite sounds amazing. However, this does not work with wonder weapons, but still you might be like, okay, fair enough. It doesn't work with wonder weapons, but infinite ammo for a minute still sounds pretty appealing. Well, sure, but and that is until you realize that ammo is, again, very easy to replace in this game. So the only thing it really gives you is essentially a bottomless clip that also doesn't work with wonder weapons and only lasts for 1 minute. So I don't think there's much reason to use this one either, just because how little value is placed on ammo as a resource here. And again, while it might sound pretty good on paper, there is a far superior alternative to Free Fire, which we'll get to a little bit later on. But moving on, we have another purple Gobblegum. This is going to be Nowhere But There. This one's interesting as it allows you to teleport to a downed teammate and even revive other ones in the area just by being in proximity as you teleport. This one's pretty cool. However, it is a co-op use gum only, so to some degree that kind of takes it down a notch because it is not applicable for solo players. It's still a pretty good option for, you know, spanning far distances to revive somebody. If you're playing Terminus, for example, and a teammate goes down on like the complete other side of the island, you physically can't sprint to them or even get to them by boat. So this might be a good option if you're playing with a buddy who maybe dies a lot and maybe you can't keep up with them all the time. Maybe Nowhere But There is a great gum for that purpose, but again, in solo play, it has no uses, so it's fine. It's not an amazing Gobblegum, and it's not terrible either. Coming up next is a blue rarity gum. This is Power Keg. This recently got added with the new DLC 1, and this is, again, appeared in Black Ops 4. It's simply a full power drop, right? That's it. There's nothing really to this one. Full powers can be really nice for you and your teammates, especially during boss fights, but if your strategy that you're playing doesn't particularly demand a lot of your specialist, it might not be that useful to you. But again, you can also get these drops for the free ones that are laying around the map if you know where they are and stuff like that. It's also not too hard to replace your specialist if you really want to by killing zombies, so it's fine. It's not amazing, and again, not terrible either. Next up is Arsenal Accelerator, a pretty decent Gobblegum, all things considered, in BO6. Again, this first appeared in Black Ops 3, and I will say this, it was pretty terrible in that game. I don't think it was very good at all, or at least comparatively to what you could be running. It's not great. But in this game, it actually refills your specialist a little bit quicker, and you can stack this with the Speed Cola augment that also allows your specialist to regenerate faster as well, meaning depending on the strategy you're running, you can pretty much always have a fresh specialist almost all of the time. And, you know, for that use case, it can be pretty good, but again, you can either use a power keg or you can get them for free or whatever it is. Specialists, if you really feel like you need them, this can be a good way to replace it quickly, but other than that, it's decent, but it's not amazing. Moving on to what I'm considering our average or middle of the pack Gobblegums, we have Crate Power. This can potentially be really good and exactly what you need. You can have some interesting Gobblegum combinations with either Respin Cycle or with Wonder Bar to get a free Wonder Weapon and fully Pack-a-Punch it. Basically, it makes your weapon that you pull out of the box Tier 1 Pack-a-Punch already, which can be really good, but it is a gamble because you cannot guarantee the weapon that's coming out of it in most cases, right? Sometimes you're better off, you know, guaranteeing a certain kind of weapon, and maybe if you're doing like an Easter egg run or you need something very specific, you kind of are just taking a bit of a gamble with this one, which again, with how unreliable and sometimes unrewarding the mystery box is, it's not always the best option to use it, but I still think it's pretty good because it can be a really nice thing to have an early Pack-a-Punch gun in BO6. Up next, we have a Gobblegum that just confuses me in all honesty, and this is our first red rarity Gobblegum on this list. It's the brand new gum Timeout. I don't really get it. I'm going to be honest, I feel like this was Treyarch's attempt at doing killing time for this game, which was a Gobblegum in BO3 that just froze the entire situation you were in. Not just the map, like the enemies, the bosses, everything would be frozen for like 30 seconds. However, this Gobblegum is interesting because you pop it and all of the normal round zombies die. But however, anything special does not die and it lasts for 3 minutes. So you can just have like an empty playing field for a whole 3 minutes, which kind of drags on for a long time. It sometimes breaks the game and I just don't really quite understand it. It's like, I certainly get what they're going for. They want to have this gum that kind of just takes pressure off you for a whole 3 minutes to get yourself situated, get perks, stuff like that. But I don't know. I haven't really found that this is all that practical or useful. And 3 minutes is kind of a long long time to just run around an empty zombies map with nothing, because it also halts your point gathering. So like if you need more points to get perks or to get pack-a-punch or something like that, you kind of just have to wait it out because you can't kill any more zombies and thus get any more points. I'm failing to understand the actual use case behind this one. It's certainly interesting, but it's definitely not a replacement for killing time. Rip my boy. All right, coming up next though is an actual useful Gobblegum, surprisingly, and this is a blue rarity Killjoy. This just literally spawns an insta-kill power-up, and even though I said, you know, some of these are fine, like they're not amazing, insta-kills I think are surprisingly underrated in BO6 for a lot of reasons. Now, obviously, there's ways you can get free insta-kills, you'll just get them from random drops as well, but insta-kills not only allow you to essentially one-shot all normal zombies, but you're also going to deal significantly increased damage to special and elite enemies, and man, in high-pressure situations like boss fights or just, you know, any kind of high-pressure scenarios in zombies, this can be exactly what you need. Like, if you want to talk about the timeout Gobblegum that allows you to just clear the board and, like, catch your breath, I think an insta-kill is kind of better at that because you can kill all of the regular zombies in a single bullet, and then you can eviscerate any elites or specials on the field, and then, you know, that kind of frees you up to deal damage to the boss or, like, whatever you're doing. Insta-kills have obviously always been good in COD Zombies, but they're actually amazing in BO6, and this is just a very simple blue Gobblegum that has so much utility packed into this single little sweet treat. Moving on to yet another purple Gobblegum, this is going to be Who's Keeping Score. This Gobblegum spawns you in a free double points, and I normally wouldn't rate a double points higher than something like an insta-kill, and maybe they're sort of on par, but the thing is, points are obviously very valuable in this game. I mean, if you've played any amount of BO6, you know how, like, tight and strict the point economy can be, and I think just having access to double the points, especially in the early to mid game, can really help you get set up and get ahead of the curve. A couple of good double points in the early game can put you so far ahead and just make those early to mid rounds such a breeze compared if you didn't have them. And again, with how strict the point economy in BO6 is, you can never say no just to more essence, right? Just like you need racks in this game, and obviously this is exactly how you get them. So it's a pretty good Gobblegum in this game for sure. Coming up next, we have Idolize. This is an orange rarity Gobblegum that makes all of these zombies ignore you for 30 seconds. Now, I actually prefer this in most cases to timeout because that just wipes the field of any zombies. However, Idolize, you know, obviously takes pressure off you, but you can still kill zombies during this period and either get points or reposition, whatever you want to do, and it doesn't last, I think, too long. Like 3 minutes is a little excessive. This is just a quick 30 seconds where you get the pressure off you, you can still get points, you can focus on the boss, you can do whatever, and it's got a lot of utility, man. You can revive teammates, like whatever you want to do, and it doesn't last excessively long either. I think this is a very solid pick. Coming up next, we have yet another blue rarity Gobblegum reaching high tier. Can you believe that? We have Temporal Gift. This Gobblegum is excellent. It essentially doubles the time active that the next time-based drop is. So anything that has a timer on screen, so insta-kill, double points, stuff like that, as soon as you pick one up, instead of 30 seconds, you're going to get 60 out of that. So a 60-second double points on like a medium to high round can be amazing for wiping out a horde and just absolutely, like if you feel like your drops aren't lasting long enough, then this might be one of the better options you can have, and it's so easy to replace that you can have a Temporal Gift pretty much active all the time, and it's excellent to have out. It just extends the life of any of your time-based drops, your fire sales, insta-kills, double points, you name it. It's a very good one. Coming up next, also in high tier, we have On the House. This one is very simple and straightforward. First appeared in Black Ops 3. You pop this thing and you get a free perk drop. It's a random perk, so you don't get to pick it. However, it does apply to yourself and all of your teammates. So 4 free perks, potentially if you're playing a co-op game, is honestly not bad. And I think just, you know, with how valuable perks are, just being able to get one right off the bat, and especially if it's a good one and one you need, or if it's the perk that doesn't natively appear on the map until round 25 at the Wonder Fizz, this can be awesome, man. I think there's no downsides to On the House. It doesn't come with any strings attached. It's just everyone gets a free perk. You really can't beat that. Up next, we have yet another blue Gobblegum appearing in the high tier. This is Stock Option. Now, this is the Gobblegum I was referring to when I was talking about how just unbelievably mediocre Free Fire is. Stock Option is far superior because not only does this last much longer than Free Fire, but it also works with Wonder Weapons. And you might say, well, okay, that's fair, but it doesn't have infinite ammo. And yes, that's true. You do actually go through your reserves of ammo and you can run out with Stock Option. But again, as I said, with how replaceable ammo is, if you just sit near an ammo box, it's practically a Free Fire that lasts longer and works with Wonder Weapons. I think think that this is just a far superior version to Free Fire, and there's just no argument about it. I mean, if Black Ops 6 had ammo that was a lot harder to come by, you could make a case for Free Fire being better, but like finding ammo in BO6 is like finding gravel in a Walmart parking lot. You know, it's so easy to find. But moving on from that, up next is Phoenix Up. This works similar to Nowhere But There, but where it basically instantly teleports you to your teammate and allows you to revive them. However, this Gobblegum just does the reviving for you, and it allows your teammates to keep their perks. That's a big thing because, you know, with a normal revive without any Gobblegum interference or assistance, your teammates are going to lose a lot of their perks and maybe keep their first 3 if you're lucky. However, Phoenix Up will allow them to retain all of their perks, and that is probably the biggest benefit to that one, and it can, you know, stretch any distance. Doesn't matter if your teammate's on the other side of the map, they will be instantly revived. It will revive multiple teammates at the same time too, so this is an excellent Gobblegum, really no downsides to it, but again, no use in solo, which kind of sucks. All right, continuing our top tier, we have Wall Power. This obviously pack-a-punches the next wall buy that you purchase, and I think this is a little bit superior to Crate Power because you get to pick exactly what you want. If I have a game plan in mind and say, I want this specific wall buy, the good thing with zombie builds is that you take it off the wall, but you still have the particular build that you want as if you spawned it with your loadout or you got it out of the mystery box. And at that point, early in the game, it will typically be a higher rarity than your loadout gun, and you'll already have it pack-a-punch tier 1. This is also a great Gobblegum just to get ahead of the curve, and if your favorite gun happens to be on the wall in the map you're playing, I think there's really no reason to use your loadout instead of just buying it off the wall with this Gobblegum. Coming up next, we have a personal favorite of mine, Soda Fountain. Now, unfortunately, this is not quite the poor man's Perkaholic like it was in BO3, because they made one little change to it. Now, essentially, the effect of this Gobblegum is it's essentially buy one, get one free. You buy a perk, it gives you a random one for free, which can be really nice, and that's great. It's similar to On the House in that way, but in BO3, Soda Fountain actually lasted for multiple uses, so you could get a Perkaholic by buying like 3 or 4 perks on your own, but you only get one use out of it in BO6, so I think it's best to try to get like multiple of this Gobblegum or roll it a couple of times, and you can essentially get the effect of a Perkaholic just by buying perks as normal. I think Soda Fountain is heavily underrated, and because it's a purple, it's not quite as hard to get as an On the House, and I think it's all the much better for that. Okay, now moving on to our top tier, our first one, unsurprisingly, is a red rarity Gobblegum. This is Wonder Bar. Now, this, again, sounds excellent, and I will say it is a good Gobblegum. This guarantees a Wonder Weapon to come out of the mystery box, but this comes with a few caveats. The problem with Wonder Bar is that if you're not trying to get the ray gun specifically, like if you're playing Liberty Falls or Terminus, for example, and you want the Beam Smasher, unfortunately, it's a very real possibility that you can just roll the ray gun multiple times. Even if you use 2 or 3 Wonder Bars and you've already gotten the ray gun, you can still use another Wonder Bar and get the ray gun again. Like, it doesn't guarantee the map-specific Wonder Weapon when you're using this Gobblegum. I think that's the inherent weakness in this one, because otherwise, you could also skip like half of the map's Easter egg, right? Like, if you don't do the build quest for the jet gun or for the Beam Smasher on Terminus, right, you can skip a whole lot of the main quest, but Wonder Bar doesn't necessarily guarantee that. And I think it's that lack of the control that's kind of annoying about this gum. So, I mean, it's great if you want the ray gun, but I mean, if you want a map-specific Wonder Weapon, like, good luck. That's all I can say. Moving on after that is a purple Gobblegum. This is Profit Sharing, perhaps the greatest Gobblegum for co-op play. This allows you and your team to share points and essentially multiply them. As long as you're standing relatively close together to where this like money icon is on your screen, you're all going to be sharing points for zombie kills. And once again, when I was emphasizing how important points are in BO6, like obviously it's a no-brainer, but you can make this even more potent by attaching a double points to it, and if somebody else attaches a temporal gift. Profit sharing, temporal gift, and double points goes absolutely crazy. It's a lethal combination, man, and can sometimes outright break the game. Like, it's amazing. So I think this is the best co-op Gobblegum in the game, maybe besides one other contender. Moving on, we have a Gobblegum that I think was useless in BO3, like actually kind of pointless, that happens to be amazing in this game. This is the purple Gobblegum respin cycle. So what this Gobblegum does is allow you to hit the mystery box and then re-roll the spin you got. And the reason this is important is they've kind of buffed it to where you basically get a higher rarity or better next spin. So for example, if you roll the mystery box on round 3 and you get a blue gun in there, you can pop respin cycle and it will usually either spit out a purple or even legendary rarity gun right away. And again, you can't really control what the gun is, but the rarity is going to be pretty high for the round that you're using it on. And in the early game, this could be one of the best Gobblegums to use, especially with something like Crate Power. It has the potential to be absolutely broken broken, and I find myself using Respin Cycle kind of a lot sometimes. I think it's very good. Coming up after that is a red Gobblegum. No surprise there. Maybe the other best co-op Gobblegum, Near Death Experience. This is essentially like a Phoenix Up in the sense that it allows you to revive your teammates and they keep all of their perks. But the best part is you don't actually have to manually revive them. You can just stand near them and they will be picked up. This is great because you don't have to go into that animation and make yourself vulnerable. You can keep your teammates up pretty much indefinitely. The problem is it doesn't last an incredibly long time, but especially in a tight situation boss fight, this might be exactly what you need if your teammates are struggling or something and you're carrying the team. You don't want to spend time actually going into the manual revive animation. You can skip all that and it's really good. Okay, moving on to a blue Gobblegum that is appearing in our top tier, which is kind of crazy. This is none other than Shields Up. This Gobblegum is genuinely insane. This, again, first appeared in BO4, and I honestly don't think it was very good in that game, or it had uses, but it wasn't outstanding. However, in this game with the armor system, it is incredible. Now, this makes your armor durability approximately twice as strong, and you can also stack this with the Juggernog augment that further makes your armor more durable, meaning you're virtually indestructible if you're running these two things at the same time. You'll almost never have a full armor break. So if you're, in situations where you feel like you're losing your armor a lot or just getting eviscerated in high rounds, this in combination can be excellent. And I think it's one of the best, most practical Gobblegums in the game for just pure gameplay, survival, and it just makes your armor feel so much better. You're not having to replace it as much or plate up all the time. The game just feels so much better to play if you had a permanent Shields Up, but man, with the Juggernog augment stacked with it, it's genuinely like unbelievable. But very good Gobblegum. A blue just encroaching into the top tier is already surprising enough on its own. But moving on to our top three, the next one is going to be Raindrops. So this Gobblegum is interesting, and I'm sure some of you guys know this, but maybe a few of you don't. This spawns all of the core power-ups, including stuff like free perks. So this can obviously be a replacement for On the House, and you get a bunch of other stuff with it, but there's also a little bit of a trick to how you use Raindrops. You don't just want to spawn it in and then just crash into everything. You want to grab your double points first, because as you grab your nuke and you grab your bonus points drops, those are going to take advantage of the double points that you just picked up. So you'll get a lot more utility out of it if you grab your drops in a kind of specific order. Raindrops, it's great because it's practically a Swiss Army knife of utility. It has everything under the sun. It gives you max ammo, insta-kill, double points, free perk, all that stuff. Like, it's great. Raindrops will never be a bad gun. You can even use this in boss fights to relieve pressure or restore yourself or a teammate's perks. Man, it's great. It definitely deserves to be top tier. However, I don't think it's the best gum in the game. Coming up after that is going to be Perkaholic. This gives you all of the perks instantly right off the bat. Now, I've talked about how I think it can be really useful to grab your first three most important perks first before using Perkaholic, but at that point, you've kind of already like invested a heavy amount of points into getting perks, but it can be good in case you go down and you want to keep the most important ones, because if you die with a Perkaholic, you only get to keep Melee Macchiato, Speed Cola, and Stamina Up, and those are good perks, but it's not like having Juggernog or Quick Revive or even Deadshot. So I like getting those ones first sometimes and then using Perkaholic, but man, I mean, like saving yourself so many points right off the bat to invest in like Pack-a-Punch early or something. Perkaholic is an amazing gum, probably like the most iconic one in all of COD Zombies, and it's one we genuinely all love. However, I don't think it's the best Gobblegum in the game. That, my friends, is gonna have to go to Hidden Power. I'm gonna be honest though, lads, it was a big toss-up for me if I wanted to put Perkaholic or Hidden Power as number one, and the reason I decided on Hidden Power, I think that there's like technically probably more utility in a Perkaholic, but the thing with Hidden Power is that you get your loadout weapon, obviously legendary rarity, right away. You don't have to invest all of that scrap into upgrading its rarity and thus its damage, so it kind of is like having an ultra Pack-a-Punch right off the bat. But the thing is though, the only reason I rate this a little bit higher, I feel like it's a lot easier in game to replace perks or to get a bunch of free ones than it is to get like Ether Tool rarity for a specific weapon. Does that make sense? Like, you can go into a map and there's 100 different little side Easter eggs to get free perks or, just to get these things very early on. But there's not a whole lot you can do outside of like 1 or 2 small side Easter eggs to upgrade the rarity of your loadout weapon. That just isn't really a thing. So I think Hidden Power is more valuable because of that. It's harder to actually increase that weapon's rarity like early on as compared to getting free perks. It's just not really the same. Now, you may have noticed that I did not rank the whimsical Gobblegums yet. There's 3 of them right now, and here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to leave that up to y'all. You guys can tell me where you would rank these particular whimsical gums. Holiday Cheer, Indigestion, and Newtonian Negation. situation. I'll let y'all go crazy with that. But thank you guys for watching. This was my ranking, and I'm curious what you guys think down below. But thank y'all for watching, and I have some cool stuff for you guys soon. I'll see you on the next one. Peace out.